Oh my God, we're back again, Allie.
So maybe we should cover a Backstreet Boys song for a lip sync, or actually no, not a cover, but make it as a lip sync.
Honestly, bring back the Backstreet Boys. Anyway,
yeah, well, I mean, they're still a thing. We love the Backstreet Boys.
Not really.
Yes, we do.
We're not here to talk about if the Backstreet Boys are still relevant or not. We are here instead to talk about this week of The Circle. Of course, I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing after that introduction?
I mean, that was a great introduction, but I'm doing good. We just did Big Brother Double Eviction, and now we're doing this. We were going to have our friends Jen and Marcelo just like week 2 of last season, but they aren't like officially caught up yet. So we were thinking of having them.
Can't blame them, honestly.
Yeah, but yeah, we were thinking of having them with some other friends on the finale.
Yeah, definitely. We are going to have them on for the finale as well. Also, that is to be determined. We are going to have that done at some point. Yes. We're not sure. But it will get done probably once Big Brother and stuff like that's over. But anyway, I guess we'll just get into it. I can't really blame the fact that Jen and Marcelo don't want to join because this season, I gotta say, not doing it for me. Not doing it for me so far, Allie. I don't know about you, but I'm just not.
Yeah. This season it had lots of potential, obviously, but. Yeah. It's just really boring. It's definitely not as good as season 1 or 2.
I think the biggest thing for me is just there are so few people that are left in the game at this point that are likable to me. I think that, and that's been, and like I said, like it was like that from the beginning. And I thought after the Michelle blocking, like it would get a little better. And honestly, I think it gets even worse this week. So I guess we'll just like hop right into it. But basically, we do get to see Kai, as we know. Kai. You did it last week. I'm doing it this week.
I love both of us accidentally saying Kai.
I know. Yeah, Caillou is playing. No.
Not that.
No, but so as we know, last week Kay did decide to block the sisters, and she's stunned that they're still in the game, and she hugs them. They admit to her that she was in fact the real Michelle. Kay feels that they were better at Michelle than the real one, and this is really where I gotta say something. I legitimately don't think anyone is playing a good game this season. I think that's something else that's like really bringing this season down for me. This conversation right here shows that even though we love Kay, she's not playing a good game because she legitimately believes that the sisters were like better at being Michelle than she was. And I'm like, no, like that doesn't make sense.
I think, this season, like nobody's playing a perfect game.
No, I don't know. I don't think many people are as well. I mean, I will say the game that Delicia played is like really hard to replicate, but like I don't think anybody's like really playing that well this season, unfortunately. So,
yeah.
But basically, she explains to them that while she had a connection with Michelle from the jump, she didn't feel like something was right in their conversation today. They said they modeled Michelle after their mom, and Kay said something didn't feel right after the cloning. They explained that they rated Ruksana at 1 because she wouldn't block Michelle, and she apologizes for blocking them. And they said they've had a great time and feel that she'll be here till the end, which... Here's hoping, because Kay's like one of our only real hopes for this season. But I guess we'll see. Not much to say. I'm glad the sisters are gone. I was not a fan of them. Very much at all. I think
they were only somewhat likable in episode 1, but then they got really annoying and obnoxious.
Yeah, I didn't hate the idea of them at first. I thought that maybe they could have brought some fun to the season, but I think it just like wore thin very quickly. And also just how they handled everything with Michelle, it just really made them look really bad. And I thought it was a very bad look. I was not a fan of them after that at all. And unfortunately, they didn't really do much to win me back because they were basically irrelevant after that. So not a fan of the sisters very much at all. And not upset that we're not going to see them anymore. So the next morning they all wake up and they're all wondering like who actually got blocked. So they get an update within the news feed and they realize that it was in fact Michelle. And so they're all freaking out about the fact that it was actually Ava and Chanel, and that the orange Michelle was in fact the real one. And through their message, for some reason, they start to think that maybe Kay might be a catfish, because I guess Ava said something to the effect of like, oh, we got some information last night about a catfish. And this gets Nick especially to be like very paranoid over Kay. And what do you think of this Nick and Kay sort of conflict that's developing? I know.
I'm not a fan of the Nick and Kay conflict. It's like
he's
just being so paranoid about her.
Yeah, definitely. I think
and then the whole thing of thinking she's a catfish is like really weird.
Yeah, for sure. I think in general, just I don't like Nick already, but after this week, I really, really don't like Nick at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we'll get more into that. But basically, they all talk in the main chat. They're happy that they went with their gut and made the right decision. Nick immediately brings up the fact that Kay may have blocked her twice. He asks up front who had to deliver the bad news in the hopes that one of them just admit it. And I mean, this cast, like, they don't want to keep anything hidden. Like, they just want to say everything out in the open. And, like, I think that's part of why the season's so boring is, like, no one's really hiding anything. So,
yeah, exactly.
Kay does, in fact, admit that she was the one who did it. He feels this may be confirmation that she's also a catfish. And again, I just didn't understand this logic. Like, what is it that Kay is saying that makes him believe
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I just didn't really get it. Nick doesn't feel he's going to be able to turn Calvin against her, but the new players, he very well could end up doing that too. And so from this point forward, he is just like gung-ho about going after Kay. And like, cool, he woke the fuck up and started to play the game, but I also feel like some of that's just because like it's one of the girls that he likes is gone. Like, I think that's part of what it is too.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, what?
Yeah. He woke up and tried to target like the best person of the season.
Yeah, literally. So the Wolfpack have a discussion, and Nick asks how they're all feeling about the new players. Daniel isn't shocked. He's into Isabella, and Calvin admits he doesn't really feel the same way about either of them. He feels he can speak for them since he was invited to the party, and they weren't. I do not like the Wolfpack.
No, not at all. Not at all. I thought maybe it would go away, but no.
Nope. Nick asks if they could potentially bring Jackson in, and neither of them seem to be down and for it. However, Daniel does feel it may improve his ratings. Calvin seems a little more hesitant since he really doesn't know him well at all. He ultimately agrees to it, though, to stay on good terms with Nick. And Rachel is added, and Daniel asks Jackson who he's into, and he doesn't seem to give much of an answer. And
I gotta say, like, I was very high on Rachel last week. I thought that she was going to do really well in this game. I thought, okay, she is, trying to just play up the fact that she's a guy. She's saying her real occupation and things like that. She's going to do great. Really dropped the ball this week. I was not impressed
I think
at all.
Yeah. Like, Rachel's like really like bubbly and fun, but she would have done so much better as herself.
I agree. Yeah, I really think that Rachel should have come in as herself. I think that just as a catfish, it just wasn't really advantageous for her to do that.
No,
because I think her biggest thing is that Jackson doesn't feel like a real person. There's nothing that she's saying. He's not really. He's kind of just like glossing over anything that he's asked. And I just think in general, she's just not playing a very strong game so far. So I was very let down by her. Also, the idea that they just randomly are going to add him into the chat, and Nick does it anyway when it's clear that like Calvin isn't okay with it. I just don't understand what Nick is doing at this point.
Yeah, I don't like that. That was just like he wasn't really considering anything.
Yeah, it was very like Devin wanting to add someone into like the fucking bomb squad without everyone else's approval. That's what that was to me.
It's like him adding someone into a chat. It's like one of our friends adding someone to a chat.
Yeah. It's
like without their permission.
Yeah, just don't do that. Just don't do that. Like, just ask people first. Don't ask, like, if you get the sense that, like, someone isn't okay with it, just don't do it. That's simple. Just don't do it. But whatever, I guess.
Matthew talks to Kay, and they officially solidify an alliance called Wonder Women, and they all agree they want a sisterhood alliance. They all exchange avatars of them blowing kisses, and it seems like they're all on good terms with each other.
And I gotta say, Matthew is still incredibly boring.
I find him very irrelevant. Like every time we go back to him, we're like, oh, he's still there.
Yeah, no, I'm not into him.
Like he's not really making Ashley do much.
Yeah, no, he's really not. Like I think gameplay wise, like he definitely has the right idea with like who he wants to target and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But I just feel he's not really doing much for me. Like if he wins this season, it's like a very under-edited winner.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a very underwhelming win.
Yeah.
All right. Sophia starts a chat with Calvin to see where his head is at. She says she gets really good instincts for him and loves the fact that he's a chef and seems to bond over that well. And she admits she's a bit overwhelmed and hasn't had a chance to get a good vibe of everyone yet. And he's impressed by how well she's able to intertwine with cooking. And she does admit she's bonding well with Nick. He hopes to be her wingman, and says that she should shoot her shot with him. And Sophia feels great about this, hoping he will keep her around as long as they're on the same page.
And I thought this was a good conversation. I thought that they were bonding really well. Sophia is honestly really impressing me, I think, as a player. Like it's honestly reversed right now, where I wasn't impressed by her and I was more impressed by Rachel. But this week, like I'm very impressed by Sophia. I think she has a very strong taste.
I just think like she's too close to Nick, but I do think she's doing well.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Which, speaking of that, there's a new alliance that's made. What's the alliance? It's kind of ugly.
Gross. Nick makes a new alliance with Isabella, Jackson, and Ashley, which he calls the Band Chat, and he hopes.
Which, can I just say, is the worst fucking name I've ever heard.
I know. He calls it the Band Chat, and he hopes that by making this, he could really get them on board with the K Catfish bandwagon. What's really funny is like he thinks. Like ironic, he thinks Kay is the catfish when he's actually aligned with all three of them.
Yes, it's really funny to me. But then my other thing is like the catfishes themselves like also want to target Kay. If she is a catfish, like why do you want to target her? Because you're. I mean,
the only one not really targeting her of them is like Matthew, aka Ashley.
Yeah, definitely. He's targeting Calvin.
He flirts with Isabella a bit and then brings up Ava's blocked player and says that it feels like she was calling out a catfish. And they all seem to agree with it as well. Nick says Kay is the one who visited Ava, so that's the only person that would know. They all appreciate the fact that he came to them with this. However, things go a bit sour when Ashley gives an indifferent response to everything. Matthew doesn't really care about the fact she's a catfish because they connected so well and is feeling amazing because of the two alliances he solidified today. Of course, Nick is also calling her out to three players that are also catfishes.
Yeah, which again, the irony of that is really funny. But the one thing I will say is that as boring as Matthew is, I actually do really respect the fact that he doesn't give a shit who's a catfish and who's not. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, that's not important. It's really not important because it would be different if, let's say, the catfishes go in and they have more of an advantage in the game than the others don't. Like, it's kind of like the mole where, like, if they get to the end, they just kind of win, you know? It's kind of like that. But that's not how the circle works. Like, the circle is all about trying to put yourself in the best social position. So I don't really understand how catfishes, like, conflict with that, especially if some of them aren't good this season, which, to be honest, like, none of the catfishes are good this season except for
not at all.
Sophia. Like that's the only one that I think is like doing an all right job so far.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I do actually appreciate the fact that Matthew is like, yeah, I don't give a shit who's a catfish. That doesn't matter to me. So yeah, that is something I do legitimately respect. It does not change the fact that aside from that, he's pretty boring to me.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So we then get this new circle game, which my favorite, right? I love the circle games so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's known as head-to-head. And the challenge is hosted by the weirdest guests they could have possibly gotten. Fucking Lil Yachty, of all people, ends up hosting this challenge. I don't know how they got him, but he's hosting the challenge. And, well, he's not hosting the challenge. He's hosting this challenge for the circle. He's not hosting the show, the challenge. That'd be funny, though.
That would be funny.
So he tells them that after this challenge, they will feel like a true rap star. They're given various clothes and accessories, and they each go head-to-head in a battle he will be judging. What did you think of these rap battles? What did you think overall?
Honestly, most of them aren't that great, besides like one or two.
They really were like trying to make these rap battles look like they were something amazing, and that, oh my God, they really got dissed. These were bad. These were all really bad. We get one with Daniel and Ruksana.
I think the one that was good, wasn't it Sophia's?
Yeah. We'll talk about that one a little bit, but we go with Daniel and Ruksana first. Daniel doesn't even like diss her here. It's just a compliment about like how nice she's been, and I'm like, come on, you can do way better than that. And Ruksana then jokes about just how young he is, and this to me, it reminds me of like the Zing bot. It's like you're picking on the most obvious thing possible, and it's just like not funny. Like it's like, okay, Daniel's young, cool. Like do something else. Like literally come up with anything else here. And this makes more people feel that they're very close afterwards, which that was the other thing. It's like people do see that Daniel and Ruksana, oh my God, they have each other's backs. They didn't really say anything mean about each other. So Ruksana does in fact win this battle for the fact that Daniel's was simply too nice. So she ends up taking this one. The next one we get is Ashley and Sophia, which I do think is probably the only good one. This is the only one I thought was good. Basically, Ashley's isn't bad at all. Really just talks about how nice she is and how she dated her. And I was just kind of like, why is this what you're doing? Like, this is so weird.
Literally.
And then Sophia comes in and talks about her being rich and how much better her hair is. And this one was actually pretty good. Like I thought it was clever. It was something a little bit different.
This is definitely the best one.
I enjoyed this one overall. We then get Calvin and Jackson. Calvin calls out Jackson as a catfish and doesn't understand.
Wait, it was Kay and Nick first.
Okay, yeah, Kay and Nick are next, and Kay immediately goes on about how much Nick acts like a winner, but hasn't been rated high at all, and asks if he's mad that she kicked Ava out. And Nick goes right in with asking why she felt the need to throw shade at him flirting, and how he considers her an enemy. And he does publicly call her out as a catfish here. And I noticed something every single time the person that won second ended up winning, which was so weird to me. Nick does end up winning this one. Kay is not happy. Kay is like, how did I not win this? I don't understand.
He's so mad.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think either of those were that good. I think the worst is probably the last one with Calvin and Jackson, where Calvin calls out Jackson as a catfish, doesn't understand why he's playing the circle if he's rich, and that he did try to vote him out last round. Rachel doesn't understand why he just throw her under the bus when he was just added to the Wolfpack chat, which I don't know why you exposed that. Like, come on, that's just not a good thing to do. But she talks about how he wants to make it seem like he's the nice guy, but is really boring and is getting blocked this round. And once again, Jackson does win this one. They each get this like little trophy, which is like a golden microphone, which is cool, I guess. But like, this sucks. Like, I'll be for real. I hated this segment. I really did.
I did too. I didn't. It was just so pointless.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I wouldn't say it was completely pointless because it did expose like some things in the game. Like, definitely after this,
it exposes like info or alliances.
Yeah, like after this, people know that like Daniel and Ruksana are close.
It basically exposes like the Ruksana and Daniel alliance.
Yeah, and it does expose the wolf pack as well. So there's definitely some things. But
it also kind of messes up Kay's game, thinking she's a catfish.
Yeah, I just don't really think it has much of an impact on things overall. So I just didn't really care too much about it. But we then see that Nick feels that him calling out Kay as a catfish isn't going to sit right. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not. I don't really like the way you're gaining up on this woman, on this black woman for no reason. It's a little weird, Nick, but whatever.
It's problematic.
Very much so. But then we end this episode on like the strangest note possible. We get this conversation. We get this conversation with Calvin and Kay. And I'll say right now, as I said before, I love these two. I think that they absolutely, for me, are the heart and soul of this season. Yeah. Every time they're on, it's just...
Their chemistry is so cute and genuine.
It's just very, like, endearing and sweet. And we get this moment with them where... basically they talk about how much that they were robbed from the rap battle, which I don't know about that. Most of them sucked. She asks how he's feeling and says that he really is her knight in shining armor. He says that while he's doing well, he doesn't like how Nick said she was a catfish, which they both know is a lie. And then they proceed to send each other pictures of each other, both of them being a little bit suggestive than their profile pictures. It really seems like they're getting closer. They even come up with a ship name, and I felt like I was watching like a fucking CW show or something here.
Yeah, they basically end episode 5 with them almost sexting.
Yeah, what was their name? Like Calvin,
or something like that.
I think it was Kyvin. Yeah, which sounds like my name if you say with a weird accent. Kyvin. Hello, Kyvin. How you doing?
Kaven.
Yeah, Kaven. This was a really sweet moment, I will say. I really do enjoy these two a lot. I just don't know, why did we end the episode this way? Like the editing is not
basically ended so abruptly.
The editing is not very good this season, I think. I feel like they're ending the episodes in just like a very abrupt manner, and it's like, oh, it's already over. Because I was expecting at least like another scene after this, like they get an alert or something, but no, it just ends with them almost sexting. So
literally,
cool. That's everything that happens in episode 5. Yeah. Not much to talk about. That's everything that goes down in episode 5. Let's move on to episode 6 here, shall we? What went down in episode 6, Allie?
All right. Matthew talks about how much he loves the fact that Calvin and Jackson are going at each other since he wants both of them out. Rachel also doesn't like how much Calvin is putting the target on her.
Which, can I just say, like, why are you shocked about this? You're a catfish. Like, you should have known that, like, this was going to happen. If you're a fan of the Circle, you know that for some reason they like to target people that they think are catfishes. So I don't know why Rachel was like so offended.
Yeah. If Rachel and Sophia played as themselves, I'm sure the girls would all work together.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's working for Sophia. I just don't think it's working for Rachel at all.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Kay hates the fact that Nick is trying to come for her and isn't letting him win. He feels the seed that has been planted and that it can blossom into her being blocked. Calvin starts a chat with Jackson and does congratulate him for the rap battle. He asks how he feels about any player's lyrics and having some truth in it, which is very clearly about Nick accusing Kay of being a catfish.
We did it again.
Rachel says he feels a lot of the lyrics were true, and Calvin doesn't like the fact he isn't answering his question at all. He ends the conversation before anything further can happen, and Calvin doesn't like the fact he's basically backing out of the conversation.
This was such an awkward scene to watch. Like, just watching this. Yeah. Come on, Rachel, just tell him anything. Literally any sort of information that you have, and she just tells him nothing. And after this, I was just like, yeah, she's a flop, unfortunately.
Rachel did not handle that well.
Yeah, this really lowered me on Rachel, just because, like, this was her opportunity to actually try to like bond with Calvin and like get herself out of this hole, and instead she's just completely cagey about everything. And look, there are instances where you should be cagey. There definitely are, but in this instance, when he's like asking you genuine questions, the best thing you can do is just be honest. Like, just be open and be like, yeah, I don't really like the way this was done, or I don't really like what you said, like literally anything. But instead she chooses to do nothing, and it's just it was such an awkward conversation to
I
watch.
know.
I feel bad, but I also don't, because she should have known what she was getting herself into.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, just a really, really
Very
bad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Daniel, Sophia, and Ruksana are bonding over cooking breakfast in a group called the Breakfast Club.
And Daniel is the most obnoxious that he's been in this scene. He's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, it looks like a fucking pancake.
Yeah, both of us like only liked him for the one scene with Ruksana, and after that we were like, nope, we don't like him again.
Yeah, he was talking about like how his pancake looks like a taco or something like that. It was ridiculous.
It was so weird.
I only wrote this down because I thought maybe this could like go somewhere, like maybe the three of them having this chat, but I just don't think this cast is like strategic enough. Like, I think that's their biggest thing, is that they just are not as strategic as I want them to be.
Yeah.
And I think that in any other cast, like, this is absolutely the way you can create like a side alliance. Like, say, oh, we just bond over breakfast, but you don't just bond over breakfast. Like, then you talk about the game. But
yeah, talk about the game.
Didn't do that, or at least if they did, we didn't see it. So it's either they didn't talk about it, or it's just badly edited. I don't know which it is, but either way, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Kay decides to make a chat with Nick. She knows the game and has always been about CCCF, compliments, comedy, commonality, and fantasy.
Which we forgot to talk about last week. That's like her big strategy. She wants to kind of like play the game that way. And I think that's kind of working for her overall.
That's so true.
Yeah.
She starts off with complimenting him on the win, and she says it takes a real one to know a real one, which he doesn't buy, of course. He says he hopes things are going well between her and Calvin. She feels he wants to start an alliance of sorts, and hopes they can have each other's backs, and they both feel they're in a better spot after this conversation.
I wanted to like reach through the screen and be like,
I mean, it is good they like kind of resolve things, but it's still like, I don't like that Nick is so well protected.
Yeah, I just wanted to reach through the screen and be like, Kay, no, you're in danger. He's coming for you. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, she does not have good reads this season, like, at all. And she's really like showing that here.
Yeah. We then get introduced to the next intruder of the season. James, James is 30. He's from LA. He's a stand-up comedian, but also DJs on the side. He's incredibly confident and is proud of being a black man, but he wants to go in as himself. He hopes to be the best friend and the uncle, but he's worried his louder energy could intimidate some people. He's ready to lie to whoever he needs to in order to win. Setting up his profile, he decides to not take any pictures involving his wife and wants to give off the vibe that he's single.
Yeah, what do you think of James?
I mean, at first I was just kind of like about him, but then he definitely grows on me. Like, he is a nice guy and everything.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's definitely one of the more likable people in this season, especially later on. Especially in a cast where everyone's just kind of like not doing it for me. I definitely he's one of the people I actually like so far. Yeah.
He's really like, he's just like a very chill guy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The players are then given an alert that a new player has entered and get to meet James. He will invite players to join him in a chat one by one, and that ratings will be later today.
Which, this was weird. I've never seen them do this.
Me neither. That was very odd.
Yeah.
He cycles through a bunch of the players' profiles and decides to start off with Kay, which we stan.
Oh yeah.
He talks to her about how much he trusts her with what she represents. She goes ahead and tells him to keep his eye open for the catfish and that he should work with Calvin and Ruksana. He then decides to pick Ruksana, Calvin, and Isabella, and they make him feel welcomed and how well he's going to do. He asks to spill any tea he should know, and Calvin goes right ahead and tells them how funny Daniel and Nick are. And Kay then lets him in on the rap battle last night, and Sophia realizes how Kay doesn't really like Nick at all. He then brings in Jackson, Daniel, and Ashley. They really like his vibe, but are also surprised by the complete exclusion of Nick. When Rachel first speaks, she doesn't say anything about Jackson and just talks about stand-up.
Which, again, is such a bad moment for Rachel.
Oh, I know. This makes Calvin feel Jackson is for sure catfish, and the second that Nick is finally invited to the chat, it closes.
which is the best moment of the entire week, to be honest.
That
Especially
was
with
so
the
funny.
play out. I love that. I love just him going into the chat and then immediately closing. That was great.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I loved how that played out. But yeah, I liked the way they did this. I thought it was a good way for James to like integrate himself into the house, and I think he did actually a really good job of like really getting on people's good side in this case. So I see James doing really well, I think, but we'll see. So Sophia then makes a chat with Nick, flirts with him a bit about being in the hot tub, and is actually doing a pretty good job, I have to say. Like, I think she's really playing this role well. Definitely better than the other catfishes this season, who really are just kind of just playing themselves. But I think she's actually doing a good job. But they pivot to how he feels about not being in the group chat with James at first, and he asks what the vibe was in there, and she brings up how much Calvin hyped him up. But James did ask for the tea and how Kay messaged that how shots were fired. He says that her and Calvin are the people he trusts the most. And she then mentions how, while she liked Kay, she feels she is so well connected and has the whole game wrapped around her finger. She says that they can keep the band as long as possible. They can take out Kay whenever the time feels right. And I don't know if this is a good move for her. Like, I really don't know if her gunning for Kay is like the right move for her, because while like Nick is definitely like the person that trusts her the most, I don't really think this benefits her. I think it benefits Nick, because he's the one who wanted this to happen. So like I said, I'm liking her more than others, but I still don't think she's playing that well.
Yeah, it's like I'm very iffy with this. Like, she is playing good, like, socially, but it's just, some of her moves are just not great.
Yeah, I'd agree. But so now it's time for the ratings, which obviously barring James, since he's a new player. So Kay says she feels fine as long as she's between 4th and up. So obviously we're going to go through these really quickly. Rachel does put Ashley at number 1, puts Calvin at number 7. Sophia puts Nick at number 1, puts Kay at number 7, which is not surprising based on their interaction. Daniel puts Ruksana at 1. Kay puts Calvin at number 1.
I mean, Daniel putting Ruksana 1 is not shocking either.
Yeah, no. Kay obviously puts Calvin at number 1 and Ashley at 3. Calvin puts Kay at number 1. No surprise there. Nick puts Isabella at 2. James puts Isabella at 2 and Daniel at 6. Matthew puts Ruksana at 3 and Calvin at 6. And Ruksana puts Isabella at 5. So the official rankings do come out, and they are as follows. We have Jackson all the way at the bottom, which, like,
I know, mainly because they're sus about the catfish thing.
Yeah, Rachel really kind of did this to herself, I have to say. Daniel is at 7. Ruksana is all the way at 6. She literally went from 2 to 6. I don't know what happened.
Robbed.
We got Calvin at 5, Nick at 4, which I was like, thank God. I really thought Nick was like going to win this, but I was happy he ultimately didn't. And then I was like getting really excited. I was like, oh my God, is Kay going to be an influencer again? Is that about to happen?
Right?
But she
does. Oh my God. Also, just because of all the shit she's going through, like, she still makes it into the top 3.
Oh, yeah, she does make it in the top 3. And then we actually get a circle first where finally the first intruder actually like gets influencer in Sophia. Sophia is an influencer here, which I have to say, that's a really good move. Like, that's definitely, I don't know if she understands the significance of that. The fact that she is in fact the first intruder, because it's never happened before. At least I saw on Twitter, it's never happened before where the intruder becomes the influencer. It almost happened with Kat last season. I think so. Yeah. Kat got very close to being the influencer, but she wasn't. But it does happen here where basically she is the one of the influencers along with Ashley. And after this, I was
about this, like, it's really good for Sophia being this, good for her because for being the first intruder. But then with Matthew, like, he's just so boring. But like, this actually makes him do something.
Yeah, I would say so too. But at the same time, I was like, oh no, one of my favorites is about to get robbed because we know that targeting. So everyone seems really shocked, though, that they're in the 2 spots. But now it is time for them to figure out who to block together. Daniel was really annoying me here because he was basically convinced that his game was like done. And I was like, how do you know that? Like the ratings don't really equate to like who gets blocked. Very often, more than often, it's like the person that's like close to the top is the one that gets blocked, as long as you're not in the 2 spots. Like anyone's eligible to get blocked here. I don't understand why Daniel was like stressing about it. He's also just like not doing anything. Like he's not really playing the game. So like,
I know, right?
Yeah, I was very annoyed by him there, but we do get this conversation with what they ultimately do decide to do, which Ali is going to tell you about.
All right. When going to the hangout, they first discuss Nick and Bella, says she trusts him the most, and Matthew agrees that there's nothing pros for him. They then bring up Jackson and Sophia, mentions how they came in together and have wanted to be loyal since then. They also agree they should save Daniel since he isn't really playing the game that much, which is true. Yeah. They bring up Ruksana and how, though she may be Kay's, oh my god.
How many times are we going to do that?
I don't know. That's because that's how Kai is spelled. So it just makes it like throws me off. But, and though she may be Kay's right-hand man, they don't see her as a huge threat, and that if they were to go for her, Kay would be gunning for them. She then brings up how much Kay is calling the shots and that it would be a much bigger move if they did take her out, which makes Matthew realize how much she is gunning for her. I like that Matthew was like standing by Kay.
Yeah, I will say that. I do think that as much as Matthew was boring me, he handled this very well. Like he definitely tried to maneuver this in such a way where it benefited him the most, even if it didn't really benefit Isabella. So
yeah. He says that while Kay is a threat, he wants to build off of how Calvin is a bigger threat. When bringing him up, Matthew says that he is gunning hard for Jackson and that Calvin poses a threat to about 50% of the band. And he also knows that he and Nick have something going on, but know that his true allegiance is with Kay, and they need to get rid of him first in order to fully take Kay down. Sophia feels conflicted since she's worried Kay is just going to continue to run the game.
Which again, I don't like how hard she's going for Kay here. I don't think it benefits her because my thing is like
she's being strategic, but it's just I don't like that.
I mean, my thing is like if you're so focused on just getting one person out, any talk of like you going, it's just you're not going to be focused on that because you're just focusing on we're just going to get this person out. I've done it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You've done it as well. We've all done it, and I feel like Sophia, that could definitely be her downfall in this game. So like, I do think she's in a good position. I don't think she should be as gun-ho for Kay as she really is because, I just don't think like they have the numbers right now. Like I don't think the other influencer, whoever it is going to feel like as bad with Kay and want her out because I think Kay's just like really well aligned at this point. I don't know if I can do the same for Sophia.
Same. All right, getting into episode 7. After a tough discussion, they do ultimately decide to block Calvin based on the fact there has been a rapport or relationship established, which it sucks because I really liked him.
Yeah, the way that Ashley said this, like, there was no rapport, there's no relationship. It's like, I mean, you're not wrong about that. I just thought it was a little bit harsh because I don't really think that's like Calvin's fault. Like, anytime you don't reach out to someone, it's a two-way street. Like you didn't reach out to them, they didn't reach out to you. Like blame yourself because you didn't really talk to Calvin much. So
for sure.
But this was very unfortunate. I really enjoyed Calvin a lot. I thought that he was a very genuine guy who's like really just like nice to everyone. And I think that is what ultimately hurt him. I think he was just really well, and I sympathize with that. I've been in that position where it's like, you're a big social threat because everyone's like good with you. Nobody really wants to come after you. I think he just needed to do a better job of like hiding his cards. And I think he just wasn't able to do that. So I think that's what really kind of hurt Calvin here, but I really wanted to make it farther. This was very sad.
Yeah. Nick is very confused since Calvin has been straight up with everyone, and Kay is also at a loss for words. The players are then told Calvin is on the way to see one of them face to face. He does choose
the best moment.
Love this moment. He does choose to visit Kay, which is definitely like very wholesome. I love that so much.
Yes.
And they are both overjoyed to see they're both real. She feels like they were the strongest alliance, and he says he felt the best with her, and everything he said to her was true, and the way she was talking, he just knew she was in fact real. He's also very confused by what Ashley said, since he's been himself the whole time. He feels to the guys he was a threat because of his personality, and he thought this would happen near the end, and doesn't know how Isabella is already at the top. And she says she doesn't know where her connections lie, and the only people she knows for sure are him and Ruksana, and felt good with Ashley as well up until this. He doesn't really know if she and Ashley are on the same page after this. He says that she and Nick are probably going to be closer after this too. He also brings up how much Nick likes Jackson, which he didn't like since he hasn't been legit the whole time, and says that if Kay gets to the top spot, and that's who he wants to go. He tells her she has a big target on her back and hopes she wins.
Yeah, I really loved this interaction a lot. It just showed that, like, what they both had in the game is super genuine. I do see these two getting together after the game for sure. I hope they do, because like I really enjoyed their relationship a lot. I'm not one to stand people, but I just really enjoyed their interactions. And for me, like I said, I really do think that these two were very much the heart of the season, just seeing how close they were, but also just like how like-minded they were. I think they just bonded really well together. And
it was such a genuine connection.
Yeah, I'm very happy that
they're definitely gonna be a thing after.
Oh yeah, I think so too. However, I don't really like what happens next.
Same. Before Calvin leaves, he is given an alert that he is told he can bestow the gift of popularity to another player. He does decide to give this to Nick to keep him afloat, which I don't like.
Why?
I don't like all this power that Nick is getting.
No, I don't either. And like my thing is like, you know that Kay is not in a great spot. Nick is not necessarily in a bad spot right now. Give it to Kay because you want her to win the game. I didn't understand why he chose to give this to Nick here. Now, like obviously he doesn't know that Nick is gunning for Kay, so I'm not mad about that. Yeah. It's just like I don't understand why he didn't give this to Kay when he just told her he wanted her to win the game.
It was just a weird move for him.
Yeah, it was just a really, really weird move. I didn't understand what he was really thinking of doing there. I also don't like this power. I'll say that right now. Like I literally don't like any of the twists they've done this season, and this is another one that I don't really like.
Sorry, Emily just came home. I was just talking to her.
Oh, okay.
All right. Everyone seems unsure how people are going to feel about Calvin leaving. The players wake up to a new message from Calvin. He lets them know he was very much real, and if he would have done one thing differently, it would have been to sit on the fence, since that gets him farther. He feels there are a few catfishes within the game, but enjoys the experience.
Again, I'm really going to miss Calvin. I thought he was probably one of the more likable people in this season, so it really sucks that he got blocked here. But in the main chat, Kay does talk about how much of a real one Calvin was and that he wasn't a catfish. And Isabella says that it really hurt to make the decision, but she hopes that others can, in fact, understand why. And then Ashley brings up how much of a stand-up guy he was, which really confuses Kay, since like they wouldn't have let him go if they thought that. And Matthew feels that he made the right choice, and that anyone else going would have hurt his game. And I honestly don't think this was a great move for him, because now Kay is like really coming for him here. Like I think Ashley should have tried to make it seem like Isabella was more behind this than Ashley, because Ashley being so upfront about why she wanted to target Calvin, I think really put a target on Matthew's back, because Kay's like very anti Ashley after this. So,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Daniel then talks about how he feels this was the best way they could have gone about it, and Ruksana wonders who Calvin went to visit. Kay does, in fact, which again, like, why is everyone just being so honest this season? Kay does, in fact, admit that he went to visit her and that he gave her a lot of interesting information. Nick is not surprised this was the case, since he knew about their connection from day one. And then this turns into the Nick show. I'm going to say that right now. These next two episodes, it's basically the Nick show. Like, I don't know what it is with the editors, but they are fucking obsessed with this guy. And he is just
why?
boring to watch. I don't like anything about him, and I especially don't like him in these 2 episodes. So he's given this alert that Calvin has given him, and at this point, I wasn't against this power. I thought that maybe it was going to be something where like he gets like extra points, or he's able to like get some sort of like reward or something like that. Like maybe it's like a blocker, like he can block himself from being blocked or something like that. That could be kind of cool, but that's not what he's given here. Instead, he's basically given a second profile to use in the circle, which is going to be used as a burner profile. And this guy's name is Vince, which, like, can we talk about how the circle comes up with the strangest fucking occupations for people? Like, last season we had, like, psychic Santa, whatever he was. And then this season we have Vince, who's a ghost hunter, and he has a key
literally, right?
The door to help him get into character. I will say the one thing I did like is I like that he keeps going back and forth from like the cape to not the cape, but I wish he was more interesting, because then I could actually like appreciate
I just don't really like this twist.
No, I don't either. I think it's like, it's completely unfair, because essentially, like, let's really think about this. You are creating a profile to help yourself in the game. This is someone that's always going to rate you at number 1. You can always rate yourself at number 1. I just don't think that's fair. And so, like, if Nick wins this game, I don't really feel like it's a deserving win, because, I mean, he was basically gifted this. So, like, I just don't really like this power at all. I feel it really just kind of like stifles a lot of the game, and it gives Nick this like unnecessary advantage, because he's never really going to be in a bad spot after this as long as Vince is around, unless they feel compelled to block him, which I don't think they're going to.
Same.
So yeah, I really hate this twist a lot. Honestly, all the twists this season have been terrible.
Oh, I know. I do not like the twist.
Yeah. So we then see Kay then makes a chat with Ruksana and talks to her about last night's ratings, and says that she has a plan to help them both come back on top. They need to play nice and build up their alliances with both Daniel and James. And she also doesn't trust Jackson much based on what Calvin has told her. Ruksana does agree, and Kay says that she feels that Ashley and Isabella must have some kind of an alliance, and she feels that one of them is probably going to be the next to go. She decides to add James into the chat, and Ruksana says they need to see this to the end. He agrees that Jackson seems incredibly fake and asks who they trust, and Ruksana brings up Daniel, and James feels that the 3 of them are the people that he trusts the most. He also believes that Ashley, Isabel, and Jackson are all possibly catfishes. So, yeah,
they are.
Not doing a great job as catfishes. Nobody is on the level of Delicia, where they're able to successfully convince people that they're not catfishes. But I will say, I love this group. I love this group a lot. I like that they're all bonding very closely. I hope. I mean,
I don't like Daniel, but I like the fact that they have the alliance.
I don't like Daniel that much, but I really like Kay and Ruksana, obviously. And then James, I really did like after this scene. I thought he was actually playing pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all here for this alliance being a thing. So, basically, the players have been given what?
They can dominate.
Yeah. So the players are then given the alert that a new player has entered the circle, and they're then told about Vince. And they all seem to be taken aback by the fact that he's a ghost hunter, except for Sophia. She seems to be really into ghosts and things like that, which something told me that she was going to be. Like, I was like, I feel like Sophia's really going to like this. And then she did. So Vince says that he saw a ghost when he was 1, knew it was his calling then. If I was in the house, I would have called bullshit on that. Like, to me, it's like, that's obviously fake. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
For sure.
But
it's so
basically, she feels that she's going to be able to bond with Vince very well. Nick goes back to being himself and welcomes Vince, and Isabella then lets in on the fact that her grandmother is also a psychic, and everyone seems to be really into Vince. And I'm just like, why? Why are we into this? Like, this is so stupid. But they welcome Vince. Kay brings up if he could hunt catfish well, and people really don't seem to be into this. This was another really bad move from Kay. She just didn't understand the vibe of this conversation. Like, this is very much a read the room sort of thing. Like, this was not the time to bring this up. Like, people are just like, you know, having these lighthearted discussions, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, can you hunt catfish? It's like, I wouldn't want to think about that either. So yeah, not a great move for Kay, but Nick then makes another chat with Daniel and Jackson, and he calls it the Wolf Pack, and he brings up how he feels about Calvin going. And while Daniel says that he was shocked that Rachel stays pretty quiet about it, we see that Rachel once again is staying pretty quiet about it. So again, just not playing well at all. Come on, just have literally any agency whatsoever.
She's playing a very quiet under the radar game, but not very good at all.
Not in a way that's benefiting her. She needs to be a lot more straight up with people, and she's not. I think it is going to cost her. But yeah, basically, Nick also suggests pulling in James and Vince to make an all guys chat, and I don't know why he wanted to do this, but whatever. I don't like this because Nick can always just add Vince to things. Like, he doesn't even need to talk to Vince because it's fucking him. So. James does recognize the fact that he's basically replacing Calvin, but he does bond well with Nick over sports. And I literally stopped taking notes after this point. I'm like, no, we're not having a sports conversation. I'm not listening to this. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this. But they then play this game, and it's called Camp Circle. And it is literally them sitting in a tent where Vince then tells them fucking ghost stories, and Nick is worried that after this, they feel better with Vince than they do with him. What was the point of this? Like, why was this a thing?
Honestly, this was literally the definition of pointless.
Yeah, I don't know why we needed this. Like, I really don't care what ghost
stories. We don't need a Nick show.
Again, they're obsessed with Nick. They really are, and it continues into the next episode. But
I hope they get rid of Nick soon.
I hope so. I just think it's kind of impossible because of Vince, because he's always going to like rate him high. So before the episode's up, Kay does decide to make a chat with Nick, and she lets him in on how close she and Calvin were, which I do think was a good move. I do think this was definitely a good move.
I like this.
And they talk about how much they miss their families, and this gets Nick to think that maybe he shouldn't be targeting her. And I'm like, yeah, no, you really should not be doing that. And he thinks about maybe making a deal with her in the chat. He brings up how he feels about certain people in the game are being strategic, and he says that though they have ended up on the same side, he feels she's incredibly genuine and does in fact want to make a final two with her. She says she wanted to trust him but wasn't sure if she could, but after this she hopes they can be on the same page, and it seems like maybe they are going to be on the same page after this. So I was like, okay, cool. These two have moved past it. I was happy about that. But again, the episode just abruptly ends here. There's just it was so weird.
Yeah, it was just like another, I mean, good on her for making a chat with him, but it was still like, I don't like Nick show, and also it was so abrupt.
No. Yeah, not at all. A bad episode for sure.
Anyway. But finally getting into episode 8, Kay is feeling really good with Nick after their conversation. So maybe it'll help her a bit.
Yeah.
Immediately, the players are told to play a cooking game called Bake for Your Bestie, in which they each have to bake a cake for someone else in the cast. Which this was honestly another pointless game.
I was like, am I watching a fucking Food Network show that my mom puts on in the background? Like, what the hell is this?
What are we watching? Like Cupcake Wars or something?
Yeah, like, is this Cake Boss? Like, what's going on
Cake
here?
Boss, yeah. All right. Kay makes a cake for Ruksana, obviously, and then Ruksana obviously makes a cake for Kay. Sophia makes a cake for Nick, obviously. Daniel. Oh my God, Daniel makes a cake for Ruksana, obviously. Nick obviously makes a cake for Isabella. Matthew makes a cake for Nick because he has a crush on him, and always calls him Daddy Nick, which is just weird.
Yeah.
This also makes Kay think that they have some kind of alliance. James makes a cake for Kay, and Jackson makes a cake for Isabella.
Again, Sophia I didn't care very much about this at all.
Me neither. Sophia makes a chat with Nick and asks if after the cake they have made things official, and he agrees. He says it's great to see the band stuck together, but he was very surprised to see Daniel decorate his cake for Ruksana, and she says she wasn't, since those two have been tight from the get-go, but she did notice that Ruksana made hers for Kay. He brings up the conversation he had with her and that they could maybe get to the end with her. Sophia just sees this as her smooth talking, and Nick knows they'll have to get rid of Kay at some point, but feels he could work with her until he needs to block her.
And I just don't know why she is so gung-ho about going for Kay here. Like, he feels fine with Kay. Just, like, back off.
Mm-hmm. Sophia was worried if she kept her long enough, she would sneak her way into the band, which she feels should just be kept to the three of them. And also feels after this conversation they need to get Kay out immediately.
I think that the band just shouldn't exist. That's where I'm
at right now. Why is it a thing?
I don't like it.
It should not be a thing.
No.
Daniel talks to Ruksana about getting 7th, and he makes it seem like he's broken, but is really just doing this so he's able to get in well with her and Kay. She says that the whole game basically changed and that she's worried Nick is going to make it to the top, but she spoke with Kay and the three of them. Have a stronger alliance now since James is with them. He brings up how he also feels Jackson is a catfish, and he felt Nick had his back up till the ratings. She says they're all underestimating Nick, especially with how many connections he seems to have. And then James checks in with Nick and Vince in the hopes that he can get Vince on his side. We then have a very awkward conversation where Nick has to rapidly go back and forth between himself and Vince.
Again, they're obsessed with Nick. Like, they think he's so funny, just going back and forth. And it's like, no, this is just like awkward to watch. I don't like this at all.
Awkward and weird.
Yeah.
Again, why?
Yeah, just such a pointless
James messages. Ugh, I know. James messages them and asks how Vince is feeling and the connections he has, and Nick brings up how good he feels with Isabella. James suggests bringing in Kay, and Nick seems to also just suggest working with her. He now knows how close he and Kay are, and James suggests for them to just be themselves. And he now recognizes that there seems to be a clear split in the game, with Kay, Ruksana, and Daniel on one side, and Nick with Ashley and Isabella and Jackson on the other. He feels all they need to do is get Vince to rate with them instead of Nick's side.
Which, let me just say something about that. Usually, when there is a split house in a game, that usually is a good sign, because it usually means that, like, there's a lot of interesting gameplay going on. But I have to say, I'm still bored. Like, I don't really care that there's, like, a split going on, because I just don't really care about most of these people. I don't find them to be inherently likable.
Like, a split house is very good, but this one is just very boring.
Yeah, no, like, and it's
it can be entertaining, but usually they're entertaining. Not this season, though.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, like I said, I like the side with him, Kay, and Ruksana, but it's just because, like, they're, like, the only ones that I give a shit about at this point. So, yeah, I'm just not into it at all. But the players are then told that it's now time to rate all the players in the game, barring Vince, of course. James does put Kay at number 1, which we love, puts Nick at 3. Sophia puts Ashley at 1. Matthew puts Nick at 1. Rachel puts Nick at 1. Ruksana puts Daniel at 2. Kay puts Daniel at 3. Nick at 5. And Isabella at 7. Daniel puts Jackson at 4. And then Nick at 7, and Nick puts Kay at 6. So, yeah, a lot of people are rating Nick very high here.
Oh, I know. I don't like that. But also, sorry, I was just talking to Emily really quick.
I know. But Nick as Vince reaches out to Kay, where she really stands with him. She asks how he feels about everyone, and he brings up how everybody seems really nice, and he hasn't really gotten any bad vibes from anyone, but he really does like Nick and James, and she agrees that they're also good players, which Nick is surprised to see. She actually does share real insight here, and he also mentions how well aligned socially that Nick and Kay are. She says it's because they're both smart and to the point, but they both radiate positive energy, which I'm not really sure if Nick does, but Kay definitely does for sure. I will say I like the fact that he now knows that, like, Kay was honest with him and he's not gunning for her as much. But yeah, I still just didn't really like this at all, because this is the other thing. When you're another player, like, nobody can bullshit you. Like, you'll never be misted by anyone. You're never going to be manipulated into thinking anything, because they're just going to tell the other player, like, what they feel. because they think it's another player.
Oh,
so
yeah. Sure.
Again, it's a very unfair twist, and I don't like it at all. But the official rankings come out, and they are as follows. And this was just really tragic. Kay's all the way at the bottom.
No.
All the way at the bottom.
You went from like the top 3 to 8th.
I know. I don't know what happened here, but
it was so heart-wrenching and heartbreaking.
Yeah, we then have Isabella at 7, Ruksana at 6, Jackson at 5.
Okay, wait. The bottom 3 rotted.
Yeah. Jackson at 5, James at 4, Ashley at 3, and then the top 2, surprisingly, I don't know how this happened, Daniel's at 2, and then our favorite Nick is all the way at 1. So Nick
what's ironic is what's ironic is that the influencers are my least favorites.
Yeah, not a fan of this at all, that they are the influencers here. And now normally it would be time for Daniel and Nick to figure out who to block, but we got to twist things up, everything's got to be like twisted this season. Oh, yeah, we can't do anything the way it's supposed to, but Nick isn't sure how they're going to agree on anything since they're both on different sides. Turns out they don't need to because they're not going to be making this decision together. They're going to be 2 players will be blocked from the circle, which, I mean, we've seen that happen before, but there's not going to be an influencer chat this season. They're each going to be sending 1 person home, and that's how we end things. And I will say, if you watch the trailer, we already know who's blocked. We do already know who is blocked.
Basically, just by like that trailer, it's pretty obvious, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not happy with one of the blockings. I'll say that right now. Not very happy with how that played out. But like I said, I mean, I should be really into this season. Like, there's a split house. They're all kind of going in their own directions, but one, I just don't think anybody is playing well right now. And it would be different if like there's at least one person playing well, but I don't think anyone really is. They all have really bad reads. They're targeting the wrong people. They are being way too candid about things. Some of them are not being candid at all. Looks at Jackson, especially. And I also just think that this is just not a very likable group at this point. The only people I generally like are Kay, Ruksana, James, and sort of Sophia. I can't even say Rachel. She's like just frustrating me. So I can't even really put Rachel in there.
I mean, I like Rachel. I like Rachel as a person, just her game.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, she seems fun.
I definitely honestly, I completely agree with you on this season.
Yeah, I'm just kind of at a point where it's like, I'm just glad that we're almost done. I'm glad that we only have 2 more weeks of this left, because this is not a good season at all. I've tried to give it a chance. I really did. I really thought that after like I said, the sisters getting blocked, I thought that things would really pick up from there. But with Calvin being one of the only likable people left at that point, and now this split house and Nick getting all this unnecessary power that I honestly think is very unfair, and just having way too much screen time in this episode.
Honestly, I actually think right after this, him being influencer, I feel like it's going to screw him over and he's going to leave.
I hope so.
I would love that.
My only thing with that,
I mean, I really hope that people compare notes.
The only reason I don't know if I can fully agree with that is because you're forgetting about Vince. Like, Vince is still there, and Vince is always going to rate him number 1. So unless they block Vince, Nick's in a good spot. He's probably making it to top 5 at this point, and it sucks. But I do think Nick is probably making it to top 5. I don't know if he's going to win, but I think there's a chance. There is, and it sucks. But there is.
I hope not. I hope Nick's gone and then Vince right after.
I would love that. That would be amazing if they did that. I just don't know if they're going
to. Because I prefer Nick to go first, just because how are they gonna show that Vince is real or fake?
Yeah, true. I don't know what they're even gonna do.
Because Nick is in the game. So I feel like Nick should go first and then him.
I don't know. I feel like these players aren't gonna like Vince isn't gonna send a message and they're not gonna think anything of it. They're going to be like, oh, well, yeah. They're going to be like, oh, Vince didn't send anything. I guess that confirms that he wasn't real.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be very
like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with that. But that's the other thing.
Yeah, they would probably just think
twist that doesn't make sense.
They would probably just think Vince is like a robot or something if he doesn't send anything.
Yeah, that's the other part of this twist that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, how do you even navigate that if Vince gets blocked? They haven't even talked about that, but I don't.
It's so weird.
I don't know what they're going to do. I legitimately don't know what they're going to do there. Like I said, at this point, if the top 5 is not some combination of like Kay, Ruksana, and James, and maybe Sophia, this season is a flop.
Maybe Rachel.
Absolutely a flop in my eyes. Oh no, I don't think Rachel's getting there. I think she's going.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I think Rachel had many chances to try to crawl herself out of that hole, and she just dug it deeper every single time. So, yeah, no, I don't think Rachel's making it there at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm not into this season. I wish I was more optimistic, but I'm just not.
No, it's just not as good as season 1 and 2. This one is not good.
And I know, like, last season, people said the cast was too strategic. We didn't really get to see who they were personally, but at least they were likable. Like, the only person I didn't like by the end of that season was, like, Courtney and Savannah. That's it.
And also Mitchell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mitchell, too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I didn't even hate Bryant. Like, he was boring, but I didn't hate him. I legitimately can't stand some of these people this season.
Oh, yeah, same.
Like, honestly, take me back to this group. Look at this group right here.
Please.
Look at this
and
nice
also,
group.
You also need to watch season 1. It's so good.
I do need to watch season 1, but like, look at this.
You'll definitely be team Sammy and Shuby.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would be. But yeah, I think that's all we need to really say here, Allie. This is not a great season at all. Anything else you want to say before we wrap things up?
I mean, I am excited to watch the rest of the season, but it probably won't be as good. And
no,
from the trailer, it looks like we're gonna get another intruder.
Which, like, why?
Right? Why?
Like, whoever that intruder is, like, does not deserve to win. They weren't there long enough.
I feel like they probably won't make it that far. Maybe like they'll probably make it like short of the finale or something.
Yeah, they're trying to twist up a lot of things this season, and I just don't understand why. Like, just keep it to the regular gameplay. Like, it's one of the things where it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I understand you want to twist things up, but like, all of these twists this season have legitimately been horrible. Like, I don't think there's been a single one that I've legitimately been into. And I didn't love some of the twists last season. Like, I was worried about the Joker. I didn't love the way that was done, but I felt that was a little bit more fair than this one. This one, it's literally like, you know, you get to have this player that's always on your side and will never turn against you and is always going to rate you high. Like, that just doesn't seem fair to me. So I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. But yeah, other than that, I think that's really it for our review of this week of The Circle. As always, look forward to our coverage of other shows like Big Brother and Survivor, which is starting up tomorrow. Excited for that. Also,
we only have 2 more episodes of The Circle and Big Brother left to cover, or like two more podcast episodes, and so Final 4 and the finale of Big Brother, and then the 9 to 12 and the finale of The Circle, and then obviously Survivor starting, and then obviously we have Ascendance Live.
And we have gotten questions about it. We are gonna get our org music video finale done at some point. Probably.
Yeah, we were with that one. We were waiting until like Big Brother Disney is done, like the season, because Seb can talk about the music videos for that. So. Which is the finale's tonight, so
it's in a little bit. So good luck to Julia and John.
In like an hour, I think, and Team Julia.
Yes, definitely. But
you've seen Julia on here, and she'll definitely come back for Survivor.
Yes, you will see her on there. So I'm looking forward to seeing her there. But either way, guys, it's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Bye.